Today, psychologist Art Hochberg will talk about the value of uncertainty in our lives. Dr. Hochberg has been a psychologist for the past 40 years, having worked in all aspects of the field. He's mainly interested in helping people get through tough times. Art?
Well, I'm going to talk to you today about the value of uncertainty in our lives. I've been in the field a long time, and I've dealt with a lot of patients, and the issue that usually is primary in people's lives is that there's some aspect of uncertainty going on in their lives. I mean, we all set up our lives so that we have certain parameters, certain things we do that we kind of depend upon. And what happens sometimes is things we depend upon disappear. They're gone. So maybe a person is out of our life, or situation has changed drastically, or some great thing we were going to do never happened. And so the question is, what do we do when we're in this kind of a situation? How do we handle it? And it just depends on what's taken away. If something's taken away, like if you're in prison, you're free. A lot of your freedoms are taken away. If your spouse passes away, then that connection is gone. If a child passes away, then that connection is gone. We lose a job that we really wanted, and that connection is gone. So things get disconnected from us, or they're in a temporary state. You know, that's what happens sometimes, is we forget that, in a sense, everything is temporary, that this is a temporary assignment we're on. So it's like a mission, like a journey. Everybody is sort of on their own journey. And on the journey, things happen, because that's why we agreed to go on a journey. Things happen. Now they don't always happen the way we want them to happen, and it doesn't fit in with our view of things. Then what do? We have to go to a place within us, like this young lady just tried to help us get to that place. The place within us that is not frightened. Now that's a hard one, because being frightened is a natural state. Fear is a natural state. Disappointment is a natural state. And what do we do with these disappointments? What do we do with these fears? Well, what we got to do is we have to get a perspective on it. Because if we don't have perspective on it, then we get like trapped or caught in the fear. And if we feed the fear, if we feed it enough, then we get into a panic. That's what happens in panic attacks. So panic is an excessive fear, a fear that's taken over our life. Now, to the extent that it controls our life, that's the key. When it controls our life to the extent that we don't want to go out of the house, we don't want to meet people, we don't want to try anything new, we don't want to be available, then it's kind of like we're isolating ourselves. Now, it may be that we need to be isolated for also periods of our life. We need to be on our own. We're so used to interacting with people, especially family and good friends, that if we don't have people to bump up against, we're on our own. Now, how do we deal with that? That's not easy either, because then it's just you and your fears and your hopes and whatever it is you got. So, now part of this is I worked in a prison for a while, and I would deal with prisoners and deal with a guy who has been in for 18 years. Been in for 18 years. He came in when he was 18. Now he spent half of his life in prison. So how does he do that? So what kind of state does he have to get into to do the time? And the adjustment that's required for that is enormous. I mean, it depends on the person. Some guys, they're used to it. In fact, they're at home in prison, to be honest. They feel sometimes a guy in prison will feel more at home in prison than he will outside, because he knows he's adjusted. The prison has certain rules, regulations, everything's predictable, nothing's going to happen big time if you keep your nose clean, and he learns to get by. I mean, I was always amazed by that I'd have a guy arrested 25 times, 25 times, 25 separate counts. It's like, I'd say to him, you trying to set the record here or what? But really, when I talk to the guy, he can't do it on the outside. He can't figure out how to do it. And the more he's inside, the less he can figure it out. So after a while, it's like, and then there's a whole range. I mean, there's a whole range. I dealt with people who were going through some kind of death experience. Like somebody close to them was dying or they're dying. And that's when the attachments really come out, because you really begin to see what you feel you absolutely have to have, but it's like slipping away. So what do? How do you detach? How do you do it in a way that you don't push people off, insult people, get real angry? There's different ways of parting. One way is to part in a way so that there's not a lot left over from the situation that you can keep building into some kind of big drama in your head. This happens a lot in divorce cases, or people who have broken up. It's a lot of that, because we build up these expectations about people. And somehow they're not fulfilling the expectations. So then we have to go inside and say, well, who am I without those expectations? Do I need that to happen in order to feel all right about myself? And you get to a point where you can feel all right about yourself and let the thing go at the same time, emotionally at least, then you can begin to deal with the situation in a more clear way. So what gets in the way of clarity? Well, fear gets in the way of clarity. Now, where does the fear come from? Fear ultimately comes from disappointment, because whatever is happening, you're not going with it. You're disappointed. You're shocked. You can be in a state of shock. Something happens to you, and you're totally flipped out, like you can't handle it. So you're in a state of shock. How do you get out of the state of shock then? Well, some people never get out of the state of shock. I worked in a state hospital, and there were people who never got out of the state of shock. They just stayed in that realm, because to come out of that realm was more risky than to stay in the realm. It was more scary to come out than to stay in. And my experience with the field is that in order to move ahead in our lives and to really get the most out of our life, we have to be able to move through these situations without making them worse. What happens a lot, just giving divorce as an example, because some of us have been through divorce or separations, or is that if you don't clear the situation out in your head, if you don't clear it out, and be all right with it and let it go, then it's going to keep playing over in your head. It's like a movie that is not ending. It's like a movie that the clip is keep going over. You see, a lot of therapy actually has to do with helping people to cut the film that they are caught in, and so that it doesn't keep rolling. How do you cut the film is the question. That's the hard part, because then you're on your own, and different people do it in different ways. You know, it's mainly to see if you can get in touch with that part of you that knows how to take care of yourself. And the key, really, there's several different keys here, and ultimately it's a survival key. You know, everyone's on their own. You know, it's just like temporary relationships, temporary jobs, temporary wealth, temporary health. What happens when the health starts going? It's like, yeah. It's like, we just got to get used to the idea that this is like a movie we're in. It's like a journey. It's like, right, you know, what happens, give some examples. It's like what happens, there was a period, for instance, in the 60s, it started in the 60s, but whatever, it's when there was a lot of gurus around. The gurus came to America, came from India, they came from different parts, because that was what happened, you know, and there was a whole bunch of people on this side who were ready for that. They were ready for it for different reasons, but it seemed to be the time to become connected to gurus, because gurus came on and they were going to tell you what's what, and they were going to, like, be your leader or your teacher. And some gurus were good and some gurus were not so good. But the question is that ultimately we have to be our own guru. That's my experience. You have to be your own guru, and then you go through whatever you have to go through. So I was involved for a period of time in or I still am to a certain extent, in a group of Sufism. Sufism is a kind of mystical aspect. Really, it's a mystical aspect of every religion, although it tends to be mostly associated with the Muslims or Islam. So, for myself, I only can speak for myself, one of the ways I learn is I just get into things. I just do it. And so I met a guru, and he seemed to know what he was talking about, and we really connected. And he told me, pretty much he told me, that since I was on, he told me that this part of my life, I needed to learn about Islam, or being a Muslim. Well, that's about the last thing in the world that I really wanted to do, or cared about doing, or even knew about, or whatever. So, but I believed this guy. So, I did it. Did the 5 times prayer, went to pilgrimage in Mecca and Medina a couple of times, got an Arabic name, wound up being somewhat involved in that organization at times. So I became really involved in that. I learned a lot about that. And it's not necessarily something I would have picked out. But at that time in my life, it seemed to be what was happening. I mean, I couldn't believe it, you know. But see, what happens is that the really powerful experiences in our life, we cannot explain to anyone. The really powerful experiences in our life are only known to us, and it takes. And other people might say, "Well, what are you doing? Who are you?" I mean, it's just like you do what you need to do to be content at that time, to be in a state of understanding who you are, and to follow your own path. And so what I learned about the gurus was there comes a time when all the gurus got to go, because you can't take an external form like that and use that as your guide. You can use it as your guide for a certain extent, But you've got to go on your own path, no matter what, no matter how big the guru is and how many followers he has and what kind of magic tricks he has. I mean, some of the gurus are very good. They actually can do magic. They actually can do stuff that just blow your brain out. So the thing is to learn from that and then do your own magic. Create your own life. Write your own book. Write your own play. Put in people that you want to have in your play. You know, like audition them. Or do you want to be in my play? Well, that's what you do when you ask somebody to marry with you, like, or be your really good friend. Is like, you want to be in my play? So we stay in the play until the play gets crazy. Sometimes the play gets crazy, you know. It's like, you know, things. You have one idea, things. Oh, I want to have children. They're just like, oh God, that'll be it. Once I have kids, home free. Well, you know what I mean about that. So, there's an old Arthur Godfrey joke. Some of you might remember Arthur Godfrey. The guy has 2 kids. He marries a lady, has 2 kids. They have 2 kids between them. One day he's at the office. She calls him up and says, "Henry, you better get home here. Your kids and my kids are beating the hell out of our kids." So that's so what happens is that was that guru trip, and you know you learn a lot because you can do that the rest of your life, thinking that there's some form or some external source that's going to make you happier and it's going to guide you in your life. Now, some people can give you guidance. I'm not saying they can't. Some people can give you good advice. Some people can make you laugh. That's the best. Because really, the whole thing is like to let it go. Whatever it is that's pressing on you, that's really driving you crazy, to something, to a certain extent, that you've blown up into a big deal, and you can't get yourself out of it. And the more you talk about it, the more it gets worse. So the best thing a lot of times is just to shut up. It's true. So we can tell a story and tell a story, and we all have, everybody, we've got some great stories in this place because we got people of experience here, and mature people, and people who have been through things. And you can tell your story, and then at one point you get sick of your own story. You say, "Oh, am I going to tell that story again?" So I was living in Toledo, and this happened, and that happened, and it's like... So in a way, it's like every day in terms of meditation, really in a sense, it's like we're starting clean. The slate, the pages, the page of that chapter is blank, and we're kind of writing a chapter. Now, the point is also to know when you come to the end of the chapter, because sometimes, literature's amazing because it's like. Great teacher, much better than psych, I can tell you that. But, a lot of it has to do with when is this scene going to end? In other words, you're in a scene, a big scene or a little scene or whatever scene, and you're figuring, well, it seems to have a natural ending, but it's not going that way. And it's not going that way because either you, the other person, the other people, the kids, whatever, they're not kind of falling in line, and so you're going along with the scene, but it's no longer appropriate for you. That's the deal, you really realize, have you had enough? Like I used to get this, sometimes you treat people physically abused, a woman's physically abused by her husband, but I can't leave him because I love him, and he needs me. So the whole question is, what do you need? Do you need to be beat up? Do you need to be denigrated? Do you need to feel bad about yourself? Do you need to, is this what you want? Is this what you want to be doing? No, but it's too hard. Well, seem hard, or sometimes we make them hard. But whatever it is, it's up to us to like turn down the volume. You see, the problem with most conflicts in relationships is the volume gets turned up too high, and you got two people like at very high levels of volume trying to convince the other person that they're right, and they got it right, and you got it wrong. Well, we know how useful those kind of discussions are, because no one's going to win that way. It's only when you back off your own trip and renegotiate with yourself, like, what do I need here? Do I need to be in a screaming relationship with this person? Or would I like something a little bit more calm? And so you got to go to that place of calm and pull out of the drama. It's like you determine that the scene's going to end here. I'm not going along with the scene anymore. Once you pull out of your part of the scene, then the scene changes. It's like some people say, "Oh, my kids are so attached to me. My kids are so right." Your kids are attached to you. No, you know who's attached to who? And a lot of it has to do with how much you want to be entangled in your life. How much do you want entangled relationships? A lot of people like that. It's full of energy, a lot of drama, a lot to report. This is going on, that's going on. But it's like, the more you feed it, the bigger it gets, and then pretty soon you can't get out of it because this person's going to be angry and that person, I'm disappointed that person, and they won't let me do this. And it's like, well, that's the way you set it up. So the only way to sort of move on in our life to the next chapter of our life is to really realize when we come to the end of one chapter, it doesn't have to be dramatic. You see how some people say, well, I got to explain to them what's going on. The only way I'm going to be able to do this, I got to explain to them exactly what's going on. Well, you know what? It doesn't work. It doesn't work because your explanation is not what they want to hear. Save your breath. Save your breath. That's it, really. A lot of that. I deal with people a lot. It's like I can't, because relationships are a difficult situation, they're not easy. And so one person is saying, but I can't do this because. Well, that's fine. If the because is bigger than your desire to move to another aspect of yourself, that's fine. Go with the because. But stop complaining. Stop moaning and groaning about how you've been victimized. Now, certainly, there's a certain reality aspect of being victimized. Some people, they get into a victimization type of situation where they feel they're being victimized, or they actually are. Being over-controlled, that's the big aspect in relationships, is control. And now some people, they work it out that way. I'm the controller, you're the controllee. Fine. Yes, dear, that's fine, whatever you say. Well, and some guys, from a man's point of view, some guys love that. I want to be told, do I like this? Don't I like that? Do I like that? Do I like that? So, it's, but the relationship thing is really the key thing, no matter what environment you're in. Whatever environment you're in, you're presented with relationships. And the key is to have, I think it's a certain aspect, to have relationships where each person could be themselves. If each person could be themselves, then it's cool. But if you start thinking, I'm twisting and turning myself, you can't, it's not you. It's not you. You keep twisting until you're all twisted up. And then you can't figure out how to get untwisted. And the other person's not going to help you get untwisted because they're actually benefiting from being twisted. So they're not. Can you give me permission to get untwisted? No, you're all right now. Just stay that way. So, you know, it's a big deal, the whole trip. Anybody have any questions? Oh, Rosemary, yes.
Let me just say you're so terrific because the main thing is you put the humor in it because it is all about control. And when you realize you don't really have any control and you can laugh about it. And that you must have been a wonderful psychiatrist. I mean, I don't know whether you were able to tell your clients that, but when you realize you really don't have any control, and laugh, and laugh. And a lot of folks down here do laugh.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, that's very good. Because when you get into a controlling trip yourself, it actually ties you up just as much as the person you're controlling, and that's the paradox.
You mentioned a place of no fear. Where is it and how do you get there?
Very good. Well, I think a lot of it is what Rosemary's saying is the thing is you gotta go to the place of humor, and you gotta go to the place of a certain amount of gratitude. I mean, in the sense that this is happening for you now so that you can actually grow. And once you start getting that, instead of, oh my God, what's going to happen, I don't know, get into the whole thing, once you realize this is exactly what I need, even though it's the most horrendous thing that I'm going through in my life, I'm going to do it, because I feel I need to do this. And when you get to that point, the fear goes, because fear is self-intimidation. Fear is self-intimidation. And once you get rid of that first, we get rid of, if there's anybody in our life who's intimidating us, really, we get rid of the external intimidation if we choose. We don't have to. We can hang on to the misery if we want. And then the other is to let go of your own intimidation. Stop intimidating yourself. That's what we do. We do it all the time. We intimidate ourselves. We're threatening ourselves. How can I do this? Oh my God, I can't do it. I can't do another, whatever. And so you talk yourself into a state of like fear. And that's how you get rid of the fear, because the mind is always generating reasons why we can't do something. Well, something shouldn't be happening. Oh, that's a good one. This shouldn't be happening. Oh, all right. Well, let's wait until it's not happening. It shouldn't be happening. Or it shouldn't have happened. That's another one. It should not have happened. Well, all right. That's a good one. Maybe we can rewind the tape and play it over again. It did happen, and that's what it's called being, mature and grown up. That's what we try to do, is grow up. I've been trying to do that a long time.
Hi, my name is Judy.
Hi.
I'm enjoying your talk so very, very much. It's one thing maybe you can help me out with, maybe all of us, is we're living in you say we're living on a stage, actually, and we are. But right now we're all living in such an era of uncertainty about everything. And this uncertainty, whether you're getting on an airplane that's going to blow up, or whether it's tomorrow you're not going to have any money in the stock market. It's brewing fear. This fear and this uncertainty are going hand in hand, so that it's causing tumultuous problems within ourselves.
I got it.
How can we deal with this fear and uncertainty and still be happy? Because an awful lot is happening with people in their lives, whether they go on drugs to try to, to try, to try to eradicate fear or their unpleasantness. But, I'd like to know just what I, and I'm sure, not that I'm on drugs, I'm not on drugs, but it certainly has an impact. But how do we cope with all this? A lot of us grew up in the 50s, right? The 50s were great years, we all had jobs. We didn't have to worry about the plane blowing up. So life, the whole world changed so much. How do we deal with this fear and outside?
Okay, so one of the things is, where does the fear come from? Of course, it's true the fear is out there, but whether we take the fear in and identify with it is our issue. Now, so you say, the stock market. Let's say you're worried about the stock market. So, if you're worried about the stock market, then what's the next logical thing? Get out of the stock market. You say, I'm worried about everything. The terrorists are coming, and the plane's going to blow up, and so. How do you know this? Have you been on a plane lately that's blown up? Do you know any terrorists personally? You at any of the party? So what? But that's what they tell me on the TV, on the CNN. They told me the terrorists go all around. You better be careful. So stop watching CNN. That's. There's certain things you can do something about, and certain things you can't do anything. You're really worried about? You're really worried about whatever? The floods are coming, the people, even the people are flooded down in wherever, they've been flooded down at the coast. Well, I'm worried about the flood. Well, if you're really worried, get on the bus, go down there, and help the people clean the joint up. So the question is, the issue then is to separate things we could do something about from things we can't do something about. It's like, I'm worried about my kid. He's in Alaska and he's fishing, and I'm worried he's going to freeze all winter. He's got no one to talk to. It's like, all right, so what do you want to do about it? Well, you want to get in an airplane and go to Alaska, hold his hand, or what do you want to do? I'm just worried. Well, I think some people think their job is to worry. If you're not worrying, you're not doing your job. I'm worried about my kids. They won't have any money, this and that. Or I'm worried, there's a big one in the States now, probably got to do it. Oh, I love this one. I'm worried I can't come up with $50,000 to send my kid to college. How shall we deal with that one? Is it absolutely necessary that your kids go to college? Is that? Well, that's fine. He's got to go to college because, well, fine. There's something called jobs out there. And I've seen kids work. They might be able to, or whatever. But the point is, just separate what things you can do from things that are out of your hands. And what can you do? And if the thing's bad enough, oh, I gotta go see it so-and-so. I hate going to see them, they're so nasty, they treat me badly, but it's my duty to go see them, you know? It's my mother-in-law, I gotta go see her, you know? Send a telegram.
I have to say,
Send a telegram.
Steve Jobs quit college. Help me out, who are the other people who quit college? Bill Gates quit college. So anybody that's concerned about their children going to college, forget it.
So it's just a question of what you want to take on. If you want to take that on, that's fine. I'm not saying you shouldn't do it. You say, my kid's got to go to college, I'll take on another job, you know, I'll sell the car, sell the house, get rid of the dog, do whatever we got to do. Do it, you know, you feel you got to do it, but, you don't have to do it, you know. I drive my kid to school.
You were saying that one of the things about in a relationship, that's one of us can see that and the other person just loves being worried. And so how do you handle that when one of you is like that and the other one is not?
Well, there are, not that I'm a big proponent that everybody should be in therapy, because I'm not. But you need to go to someone, if you can work it out. Someone's neutral. That's usually the first step. It usually doesn't work, but you can try it. But if you're the person who's getting it, and the other person is not getting it, you got to figure out a plan of escape. Really. Listen, we're not here that long, you know? You want to be able to spend some time in Ajijic, and have a good time, drink a little tequila, smoke a little whatever, see, it's like, listen, it's like this. It's like you're in prison, and you figured out how to get the hell out. You worked it out, you got the whole plan, you got it down, but you say to yourself, I better go check with the warden and see if it's okay. That's the way it is. You can't be checking with anybody because they got their own trip. And the problem with relationships is that you get into relationships and then, I don't know how, 5, 10 years later, it's like, what happened? Weren't we once in love? Then we couldn't wait to see each other? Remember that? What happened to that? Well, it may have happened then, but maybe it's not happening now, and you got to figure out what you need, That's why relationships are the toughest thing going, It's like the prophet, the Muslims said that marriage was 50% of the deen, meaning if you can get marriage down, you're 50% home. But I've always felt that was an underestimate. It's 95% of the deen. If you can get relationships and a marriage or just being together, you're 95%. If you can do it in a healthy way, because then it's shared with everybody else. I mean, you can get into a little cockeyed relationship with someone where you're both a little wacky and this and that and the other thing, you think things are happening and they ain't happening or whatever. But you can do that too, but to have a healthy relationship. And you gotta let the other person be themselves. They gotta be themselves. You gotta be yourself. It's like you're friends. It's like what's the sense of being married if you're not friends? Some people say I'm married, but it's not my friend. What? What? You better get a friend. Then you can be married too. What a trip.
Art, thank you for the laughs and thank you for the wisdom.
Oh.
And always in life, people have payoffs for whatever relationship they're in. So we have to own that fact. And it's hard sometimes to really understand what the payoff is, whether it's a bad relationship, a job that you hate, or children that you can't stand, or whatever.
Exactly right.
I also would like to comment on how wonderful your example of the theater is. Because I used to be in theater. And at the Guthrie, you could do the you could do the Christmas Carol 10 different ways.
Yeah,
You could, make it a modern Christmas Carol or an old Christmas Carol.
right.
So the director changes, the costume changes, the actors change, the scenes change. So I think your theater example is excellent.
Yeah, I think so. Oh. I think Shakespeare said that. Actually, oh yeah. I think one of the things, in terms of getting to know ourselves, this is my personal experience, is that we have to take a little bit of time out, or a lot of time out, once in a while, to just be by ourselves. I think I said that. Like, just be by yourself for a whole day. Just be invisible. You see, we're so used to being visible that we get so attached to our visibility. Yeah, it's me. How are you? But you learn much more about people and yourself. Sometimes if you just first of all, you don't always have to talk. You don't always have to talk. Sometimes it's better you just watch. Just listen or don't listen. Listen or don't listen, right? But sometimes it's good to think I'm invisible, and that's an experience. The paradox is we over-identify with who we are. We over-identify with who we are, and who we are is not who we think we are anyway. And it's the same with everybody else. Everybody else is walking around thinking they know who they are. No one knows who they are.